Now, the biggest issue with space exploration is when it comes to humans, because ultimately that is what we want. Hence, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars with his BFG. It's huge rockets, as I said in the previous episode. The main issues with this is water. Water is not abundant, and it has to be water that is drinkable. Can't just be any sort of, it has to be water that is drinkable. Not everything that is a liquid is water. So that's one of the most important things. Secondly, the mental, physical, and emotional well-being of astronauts. So going to the moon, that was a tough mental. You need to be mentally tough. They had to get the best of the best. They actually got fighter pilots. Even they sift out fighter pilots, because what if you didn't come back? So there had to be that whole testing if you are mentally fit to actually go to the moon. The moon is about 14 days. Going to Mars, which is where we want to go, is 9 months. Imagine 9 months in a small container, effectively, just with the void on the outside. That is mentally tough for anybody, and we don't really know what would happen if someone. We don't really know the mental well-being and how that will affect the human mind. Physically as well, we haven't been that. No one has been out there 9 months in space with no gravity. Don't really know what's going to do for the body. Emotionally, we also don't know. So these are things that we need to study going forward, so that we fully understand what astronauts can expect to get when they're out there. Another issue: human waste. We produce a lot of waste. So there are actually studies that look into how human waste can be recycled to the benefits of the astronauts. There's actually a student here, a PhD student, he's now done, submitted, Sami, where he actually looked into how we can sort of recycle human waste when you're on a spacecraft. So between journeys, what can you do to do recycle human waste? There's also other studies that have been done looking into it, and it's actually quite interesting if anybody wants to go and look at it. There have been some excellent ideas that I've seen at conferences this year. So space exploration for humans would be quite interesting. And then fourthly, rescue missions. You have to know that there's a high chance if something goes wrong, you might not be rescued. So that comes into the whole mental well-being. You effectively, when you become an astronaut, you accept that you might pass away in space, you might die in space, or there might be an accident and you might not be rescued. And that is something you might have to accept if you want to become an astronaut, especially if you're a faraway planet. If something happens on Mars, for instance, it's going to take at least 9 months to get there. Whether you last those 9 months is a different story. So we need better ways of space flight between planets if we are to do this, and to try and remove the rescue duration time. There was also another movie called The Martian, where he was left, he had to wait, and he had to grow food on Mars to be able to wait for rescue. So it's actually really a big thing. There's another TV show called Mars. I think they're on their 3rd season now, where it demonstrates how humans will be able to move from Earth to Mars, and what are the steps that are required in order for us to actually get a civilization there from here. Obviously, it doesn't take into consideration that technology might improve, but based on the technology that we have now, it sort of demonstrates where we are. It's actually really sort of like a docu-series type vibe. So it's actually quite interesting, if anybody ever wants to know. So that is me on space exploration, part 2, outer planets. There are many things that need to be considered. There are many holes that really nobody has the answers to, but I think maybe in the next 20, 30 years, we might have better answers. Oh, and also the moon will be used as like a rest stop for us to be able to go to other outer planets type thing, which I think is actually quite a nice way. Just people just to get mentally ready. So you go to the moon, get mentally ready, and then you go to other planets, and you should be fine. So, well, next week or this week, I will talk about space weather. So as you saw in the first picture of all the four major space exploration probes, there was a solar wind and there was the termination shock. So I'll explain that, what those mean, in the next episode, in episode 9. And then episode 10, I'll explain, basically I should walk you around Space Lab and what I do. Well, not everything in Space Lab, but I'll explain what my research is about and what other students have done. So I'll show you their posters, what other students have done for their research, and that will be it. That will be all 10 episodes. So goodbye.